Hello, welcome to week 11 of the NFL season, the Snap UK, and it's a full house.
Woohoo!
Cheers! Yeah, got all the guys here in tonight. I don't know whether that's to do with the final of Bake Off or
it's the final of Bake Off. I'll see you later then.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm off. Yeah.
Yeah.
How that Laura's in it, I had no idea. I know it's a completely separate issue, but she has been like shit for weeks. Look, you can shake your egg, Griff. But
we're having no Bake Off chat on this, please.
They were talking about it on Sporting Crime. How is that not got there?
That was a Sporting Crime.
You can make food.
Sporting Crime.
You know,
they were talking about it on Crime.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
I thought I might go on to that show next year where you have to go and make porn videos. It's called Wank Off. It's going to be an amazing show.
I can see John restarting this show.
Anyway, we're still in lockdown over here in the UK. Hopefully last week, but you never know because we're led so well.
It's not.
But yeah, news has just come out in the last couple of hours about Hall of Fame. So Peyton Manning, Charles Woodson, they've all got to the semi-final stage. So they're going to be in the Hall of Fame. There's other players in it, like Jared Allen, Torrey Holt. There's 25 players up. So I'm not going to go through them all, but yeah, Peyton and Woodson are the highlights.
How can you miss out Troy Polamalu though?
Did I miss out Troy Polamalu? I didn't even see
on
there.
Am I looking at the right? No, I'm looking at the wrong year.
Was he last year?
Yeah, he was last year.
Yeah. Didn't they go to? I remember him going to his door and knocking on it.
Google shit.
Great hair,
John. So my dad's just coming to give me a Snickers.
That's nice.
Yeah.
You're not you when you're hungry.
Recording.
Cheers, Big John.
That's right.
Hey.
But yeah, should we get into the action?
I think for anyone who can't actually see us, which is most of the people who actually listen, Big John just put a Whisper Gold on the screen. You know, which is why that's why we're in Chile.
Whisper Gold.
But yeah. Okay, let's start.
You left out Patrick Willis. He's on the list.
Your GM's on there as well.
John Lynch is there again. Who else? Who else is interesting?
If Peyton Manning's getting in, his receiver's getting in as well. You've got
Reggie Wayne's going there, yeah. Tony Baselli's there again, and I reckon he could be a shoe-in this time as well. He's been on the short list for a few times. So,
isn't it sixth time?
You've got Megatron on there.
Megatron, yeah,
we were saying earlier, Paul. I don't think Megatron's going to get in the first time. I think they're going to make him wait a few years.
He's going to be in there. He'd have to be in there.
We'll go the same year that Philip Rivers goes there.
Yeah.
But yeah, look it up yourselves. It's all there. So
welcome to the Look It Up Yourself podcast. This is where John Farrow can't be asked.
Here to bring you entertaining news.
I'm just going to read out 25 names. But yeah, so Thursday night football. Seahawks beat the Cardinals 28-21 in a result I don't think many of us predicted. I think I had the Cardinals to win this. Seahawks are they now leading the division again, or
not anymore? I don't think.
I don't know, probably not because of what happens in our next game.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a timely win for them because they were on a bit of a slide last few weeks. So who wants to start this one?
I'd say not so much the whole Seahawks team have been on a slide. I think Russell Wilson has been on a slide the last few weeks, and he didn't do anything particularly wrong this time around. He didn't throw any interceptions, didn't give the ball away. It wasn't the spectacular Russell Wilson we've seen to start the season, but like I said, he didn't do anything wrong. I think I've said it before. I think this team is being massively pulled through this season by Russell Wilson. So if he's playing well, they win. If he makes a mistake, they inevitably lose. And I think the fact is he didn't make a mistake. The running game was pretty decent. They got decent yardage out of Carlos Hyde. Even Bo Scarborough wasn't too bad. 6 carries for 31 yards. He's a mountain of a running back. And I think they just had enough to get past the Cardinals, who I think have made massive progress this year, but they're still not the finished article. I think this is one of those games where they just came up short.
Yeah, they did come up short, but Carlos Hyde dropped one at the end, didn't he? Almost cost them.
Yeah.
So could have.
There's still issues with the Seattle offensive line. Like Russell Wilson, people are still able to get to Wilson. The Cardinals registered 8 hits on him, but only 3 sacks. And he did have 2 fumbles, but he managed to recover them both. So even when he did make a mistake, he was able to get back hold of it. Kyler Murray, he had a decent game again. Didn't commit any turnovers, but his running game was severely lacking this week. He only got 15 yards from 5 carries, which is a lot less than what we've been seeing over the past few weeks. So I think that lack of running game really hurt the Cardinals. Seahawks have been really building up the fact that they can defend the run. I think this time they really did, and they were able to stop it. So they're relying too much on Kyler Murray's arm, and he's a good passer. But they need to have a balanced attack.
I think this just showed us where the Seahawks were. So, and I think when we're saying that Wilson's had a bit of a drop off, he has, but he's also had no real run game around him for the last 3 or 4 weeks. DJ Dallas. No Hyde, no Carson. So I think if you allow Wilson to have a decent run game around him, then he will, I think you can mix up the playbook better, and I think you're less obvious in terms of what you're trying to do. You can mix it up well. So I think that's really been the difference with the Seahawks, is when they have a half decent run game, and Carson has been good all year, and he's potentially back this week as well. Potentially if you've got Hyde and Carson, then it really does change the options. Wilson can run, or they can run, and the big issue, as we know, on this Seahawks defense is the secondary, isn't it? We know you can pass over the top of the Seahawks and do some real damage. Is Kyler Murray going to do that all the time? He's got some very good wide receivers, and we're not exactly seeing DeAndre Hopkins rip the place apart. He's doing okay this year, but outside of occasionally big plays, he's not racking up 100 yards with 9, 10, 11 targets every game, is he?
No, he gets a decent amount of targets, but I think you're right. He doesn't get as many yards as you perhaps expect. Like he's on target to have 115 catches this year and 1,400 yards, which is an average of 12.7, which isn't like for a player like DeAndre Hopkins, who we've seen kind of making big catches down the field, both in his Texans days, but also like last week. That's not a massive average for someone like I expect would probably be happier being up to kind of the 20 yard per catch.
Cool. Anyone else got in for this one? Okay, well, let's move on now to the Monday game, as I think Rams would have been taking control in the division because they overcame Brady's Bucks 27-24. Rams on a good roll now. They're looking good. They once again they got to Brady, which is what you need to do. It seems against this Bucs team. Yeah,
they didn't record that many sacks again. I think they had 1 sack on him for the whole game. But like the 2 interceptions that Brady threw, at both interceptions they were basically on top of him as he threw the interception. So one went long and the other one might be short, but he had to get rid of the ball before he got absolutely creamed by Aaron Donald and company. And that I think the biggest kind of improvement in this in the LA Rams team kind of year to year has been that defense. And I think we've said it a couple of times now. Aaron Donald is playing brilliantly, but so is Jalen Ramsey. And the backfield and the defensive front playing together at the same level is causing what is one of the best attacking teams. It caused them problems all night. They weren't able to kind of establish any real gain on the run. Both Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette had 2.5 yards per carry. And they were getting to Brady and making it uncomfortable. But let's not forget, this is a Rams team that have got a history of making Brady uncomfortable. Like, okay, Brady won the Super Bowl against them, but it was far from convincing in terms of an offense. And I think that's something which somehow the Rams are able to do. I thought, the Rams weren't brilliant. I think they got a lot of production out of Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, a lot of production. But apart from those two, the rest of the team were just a bit bang average. Their run game wasn't working that well. Goff had a pretty decent night, but still threw 2 interceptions. One of them was terrible. He kind of threw the ball without even looking where he's throwing it, from what I can make out. It was an obvious interception for Pierre Paul. But because of that running game, they're asking him to throw so many times again, 51 attempts. And actually, he got quite a lot of completions, but the massive overusage of those 2 wide receivers. And if the Bucs backfield had turned up and actually figured out what to do, I'm not sure that the Rams would have won this. I think they would have, if they could have just stopped Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods a couple of times, the Bucs would have been right back into this because they're a much better spread offense, I guess.
Cool. Anyone got?
Yeah, I just wanted to come in with the Rams. There seems to be this level of surprise that a team that were in the Super Bowl 2 years ago are a good team.
Yeah.
And they haven't lost many pieces from that team that won the NFC Championship.
Well, they haven't, but they have lost Gurley, and Gurley at his very, very best. And he was a huge part of that offense. I think their defense is their strength, Yeah. And I think, wide receiver, I think they've got 2 very good wide receivers in Woods and Cupps, Cup rather than Cups. But I do think they are both very solid, and you've got proper dual threat, haven't you? You don't know who's going to get the most targets each game.
Yeah.
And then, you've got Donald, haven't you? So your defense is always going to be in the game.
I do think as good as Kupp and Woods are, I do think they're 2 number 2 receivers, though. I wouldn't, and we'll talk about it later, I know, but I wouldn't have either of those as a number 1 receiver. I think they're complementary to each other and they work well together, but they're not. I wouldn't say they're kind of star receivers. They don't put those numbers up every week. That's for sure.
But the Rams look so much better when Cooper Kupp is playing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's definitely a favourite target of Goff's.
Do you not think that this game and what we'll get to later just highlights the fact that Goff and Wentz are the most disappointing 1-2 quarterback pick we've had in a long, long time?
Oh,
so inconsistent.
I will give you Mariota and Winston as the worst numbers 1, 2.
Deshaun Kaiser.
No, he was a second round or late.
No, Mariota and Winston went 1 and 2. One to the really? Bucks. Yeah.
I don't know. I just think, Wentz I'm completely done on, and Goff is so incredibly in and out. First half, brilliant. Second half, useless. And it shows. It's almost like you only have to rattle him once and he's done. It was the same in the Super Bowl. They got to his head before they even got to that game. And I don't know. I don't think either of them are elite. They're not Hall of Fame quarterbacks. You're never going to see either of these two be a player that drags a franchise to successive championship games or Super Bowl appearances. It's just not going to happen for them.
Can I just bring in a comparison for you, though? The 2007 NFL Draft. Who were the first 2 quarterbacks picked in 2007, Michael?
Go on, I don't know.
Jamarcus Russell and Brady Quinn.
Yeah, but were they picked 1 and 2?
No.
Jamarcus Russell was picked number 1 and Brady Quinn was number 2.
He always was number 2. But like I say, I think it's so disappointing. These two were hyped as generational talents. Winston certainly wasn't. I think Mariota was looked upon as a little bit more than he ever was going to be. But Winston wasn't. Everyone knew he had the possibility to flop. But these two, Goff and Wentz, if you go back and read it, it was like these are generational talents. It was a bit like Manning and Leaf. All right, it hasn't gone exponentially in either direction like that did, but it's just sort of floundered in the middle with both of them.
Well, I'll tell you, Wentz, you were quite big on Wentz before he got injured and pussied out, as you would say.
Yeah.
But he never really came back from that knee injury, which is the same terrible knee injury, that Burrows has just suffered from, as John liked to, point out to us the other day. Then he had back issues and concussion issues. He's in an aging team. That Eagles has been an aging team ever since their Super Bowl.
Do you not think that Wentz, the injuries aside, he's never come back from mentally the burden of not being the one at the Eagles to win the Super Bowl?
Definitely.
I think that's what's killed him.
100%.
He probably knows that was that team's one opportunity to win the Super Bowl, and it wasn't him. And he will always be the guy that got 3/4 of the way there and then watched Nick Foles win the Super Bowl. And it's the same with Goff. I think he got all the way with a very good team to the Super Bowl and just crumbled. And I think mentally both of them are just floundering in the NFL.
I don't think they're floundering, but I think you win an NFC championship in spite of Goff rather than because of Goff. So
I'm not sure Goff's a write-off yet. I'm not sure he's...
Well, he's not a write-off,
but
I'm not sure he's got to the peak that we might have thought he might have got to.
He's not an elevator. He's not an elevator of a team.
No, definitely
Whereas
not.
I'm not. I think Goff can still get better though than he is now. I'm not sure Wentz can be better than he was 3 years ago.
No.
I wonder how much of Goff's success is down to Goff and how much of it is down to Sean McVay. Because there's a lot. Well, when he first came into the league as a head coach, there's a lot of conjecture about him being an offensive genius, and he was speaking to Goff right up to the time limit in the helmet. And now I don't think that's any. He had a down year last year, but I don't think he's any different in terms of he's still an offensive genius. He still knows what he's doing in terms of running a team. And Goff's playing okay. I think he's an average quarterback. I think he's. If you were to rank the starting quarterbacks, he'd probably make the top half, just about, maybe, ish. And you can tell how convinced I am by that. But
do you think he's becoming the new Andy Dalton of the league?
Yeah, potentially. I think he's as good as what his coach is going to be.
He is the pivot point for quarterbacks.
Yeah, exactly. I think he's all right. I think he
John's pulling the someone said a dirty word face. Andy
I don't think he's. I think he's upper mid-level. Because there are still some bad quarterbacks in this league.
I don't know. I think we've seen some really good ones come into the league over the last couple of years, which I think would push them down a little bit.
Possibly.
So I've got Pro Football Talk on in the background, and Pro Football Reference have just tweeted only 2 QBs in our database have a game with 2+ interceptions, 5+ sacks, a fumble, a pick six, and a safety. One is Carson Wentz. The other one is
Jameis.
No, someone called Jay Fiddler, who played for the Jets versus the Patriots in 2003. That's how good a game Wentz had on Sunday. But we'll come on to that later.
We'll still get to Wentz. That's in a couple of games' time.
But in the speed round, is it?
It's not in the speed round. Bizarrely, the Eagles escape speed round. Saints 24, Falcons 9. Mainly here because there was so much conjecture over Taysom Hill and Winston.
When you finish this, or before you start, I just like to point out that J. Brian Fidler is in the National Jewish Museum Sports Hall of Fame. Just saying, I didn't even know that existed, but it does.
He played 76 games.
It is.
He played for the Dolphins for ages, didn't he?
I've never heard of him till right now.
I hadn't heard of him. He did play for the Dolphins. You're right, Paul.
Sporkle's wonderful, isn't it?
And I think that's a great Hall of Fame to have.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, Taysom Hill.
Other quarterback, Taysom Hill. He
Taysom
played
Hill.
all right, didn't he?
You played all
The
right.
Hall of Famer, Taysom Hill.
I mean, for anyone on the ESPN fantasy app who didn't play him at tight end, in all
missed
honesty,
out.
You fucked up. But yeah,
I knew you were going to talk about that. You're so proud of yourself. Literally, that is
was.
the happiest you've been in months.
That's been changed now, hasn't it? They put him back
can't-
as quarterback.
Yeah, I've got to play him as a quarterback this week, or as I will be playing him from the bench. But no, he was fine. I think it helps that you're playing the Falcons. But you know, I don't think you get any better from playing Winston. You know, plus he got 2 running touchdowns. So you know, I don't think they'll be particularly long because you know the Saints are good still and the Falcons are rubbish. That's pretty much all the analysis we need to do on this one.
They destroyed Matt Ryan, and Taysom Hill got better as the game went on. Some of his distance throws were so floaty, but in the end, it didn't matter because once he started using his legs, and they took a long time to dial up an actual quarterback run in this game. But once they did, all of a sudden the field opened up because they went from trying to throw the ball, which he looks less than average at when it's beyond an intermediate throw, to okay, we can pull out every trick in the book because we're slightly ahead, and we can afford to run it now and see what happens. And he ran for 2 touchdowns. People would be screaming about how great it is if Cam Newton was doing that, and yet people are criticising Taysom Hill for not being able to throw the ball down the field. But this team hasn't thrown the ball down the field all season. Drew Brees can't throw it more than 25 yards.
Look at the current MVP is.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that actually, I think Sean Payton has done himself a favour here by saying this is who I'm going with, and this is going to work. And he can now say at any other given time, like this week, we're playing Jameis because I think this is going to be a better game plan.
But he always said, didn't he, that if he had to swap Drew Brees out like mid-game, it'd be Jameis Winston because it means you don't have to change the whole game plan.
Yeah.
So, but you see, if you have a week for Taysom Hill to prepare and the rest of the team to prepare around him, then it's going to be Taysom Hill because he's his number 2 quarterback. And, you know, like McVay, Sean Payton is another offensive guru, and he can scheme up different ways of playing for Taysom Hill. I think that's what he did. And I thought Taysom Hill was fine. Like 18 completions after 23 attempts, no passing touchdowns, but no interceptions. He only got sacked 3 times. And you mentioned it earlier, Griff, and I think kind of Taysom Hill is stealing the headlines here. That Saints defense is really improved over the last couple of weeks. They had 8 sacks on Matt Ryan. And I think they hit him they got 11 quarterback hits in total. Yeah. Like it's never been the Falcons offense that's been the problem. It's always been the defense. And that Falcons offense was just non-existent on Sunday.
It didn't help that Julio Jones went in and out of the game about 6 times.
Yeah. But it's like Calvin Ridley and Russell Gage. But even the running game didn't function. Like Gurley or Brian Hill or Ito Smith or whoever else, Brandon Powell, need to get glasses. None of them could make any impact. And Matt Ryan was just harassed the whole game.
And of course, it's Zacharias.
Of course. Olemdi Zacharias, is that how?
Olemdi Zacharias, one of my faves this year. You know, Falcons, you know, they're just playing for the season to end, really. But yeah, Saints.
Yeah.
I don't know. We don't know how long Breeze is going to be out, but actually, I'm feeling a little bit more confident about them playing without him than.
Yeah. And you look at it, that's now the 6th or 7th game in 2 seasons where the Saints have won.
They are 7-0 across 2 seasons with the backup quarterbacks. Yeah,
that's good coaching. Like we talk a lot about coaches and coaches in the hot seat for not preparing their team properly. That's a good coaching staff.
It's not only good coaching; it's also throwing money at backup quarterbacks in case you need them.
Yeah.
They did the same with Bridgewater. All right, they got him on a good deal, but they did do that, and they've thrown big money at Taysom Hill for what he is. But if he gets you 1 or 2 wins and you get into the playoff, and then you can bring Breeze back without him ever having to throw in the regular season again, that's money well spent.
Yeah,
I mean, for the Saints, only the Steelers are on a longer winning streak than them. They've won 7 in a row, and they are now in the lead of the NFC South, 8-2 to the Bucks, 7-4. So you know
they're leading the whole NFC as well, aren't they? I believe.
Yes, 8-2. Everyone else has only got 7 wins. So you know they're putting themselves in a good place for that bye. You know, because there's only one bye now in So yeah, they're doing
Well,
playing lights out.
the last 3 years, at least one of us has picked the Saints to go on and win the Super Bowl.
Oh, I picked them this year.
If not more of us, because when you look at their whole offense-defensive balance, and they've got people who can make plays on both sides of the ball, haven't they? And interestingly, actually, I thought Taysom Hill looked okay. I thought he threw quite a good ball, actually. I didn't really think his passing was too much of an issue in terms of his technique. I thought it was more timing. And that's just practice, isn't it? But I thought where he struggled a little bit, actually, was his time with Kamara. And some of those little, shovel passes and bits like that didn't look very smooth. That's the area I'd be most concerned about. Because if you don't, if you bring Hill in and you lose something from Kamara, that would be my concern.
Well, can you tell me the last time Kamara didn't have a reception in a game? Because I tried looking up and I ran out of time.
Yeah.
It is a thing.
But
he had one target, no reception.
But on the flip side, Michael Thomas has got more work this week than he's had since he's been back playing with Breeze. I mean, I think if you've got one of those players playing well, then you're in with a good shout. If you've got them both playing well, you're probably going to win. So, pick your poison.
Yeah, I just think, you don't want to lose something because you've got put Taysom Hill in. So that was when I watched it, that was what I saw. I saw he could actually, because if you think, if they want to throw the ball long, they do bring in Hill. He can clearly throw a long ball, can't he? So I don't think his throwing, prowess, his accuracy and his timing might be an issue, but his ability to throw a ball isn't a problem. Like I say,
I can complete that stat now and tell you that his lowest number of receptions was he had one reception in week, I think it was 8 last year. But other than that, he's always had 3 or more. So,
I should have known it would be last year. So,
well, as we're talking about throwing, struggling throwing a long ball, Ravens 24, Titans 30. And
this isn't on Lamar beyond the fact that he's the quarterback. It's the fact that Marshall Yonder retired, Ronnie Staley got injured. They moved Brown from the left to the right guard, or the other way around.
Other way around, yeah.
Yeah, so they moved from right to left. So the whole O-line is shaken up. Lamar, therefore, can't run the game plan that he's basically there to run. John Harbaugh's coaching looks a little bit stale for the first time, really. And they haven't got any elevating wide receivers. That doesn't exist on this team. Willie Snead is their best receiver. They brought Des Bryant from Mothballs. He had his first reception for 3 years. There's nothing to elevate it. They're getting nothing out of Ingram at all, are they?
No.
They're not getting enough out of J.K. Dobbins. I think he looks good, but he just looks good. And then, effectively, the defensive unit surrendered in the second half. They held Derrick Henry to 30 rushing yards in the first half.
Yeah, and then they just got worn out by him.
Yeah,
Derrick Henry scores about 66% or runs about 66% of his yards in the fourth quarter. And
when everyone's knackered from being hit, which is
crazy.
But it was a great overtime run to seal the victory. But he could have been tackled 4 times on that run, and just no one got there. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Also, AJ Brown's touchdown. It was brilliant from AJ Brown, but I think he ran through about 4 defenders. And
he carried about 3 of them.
But that's the Titans' game plan. It's very physical, both on offense and defense, and you have that with Derrick Henry as your running back and AJ Brown as your leading wide receiver. They're both big physical players. If you look at them, they're stacked.
Yeah.
If you go back quickly, just the running back game of the Ravens, Lamar Jackson is still the number 1 runner for the Ravens.
Yeah.
575 yards. And I nearly put him in my top 10 running backs last week, didn't I? And I was quite serious about that. Dobbins has got 380 on 72 attempts, and Edwards 376. So it's those 2. Ingram's only got 230 yards. So you've got kind of 1,000 yards out of those 3. But that is putting a lot of pressure on Jackson, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And it's sort of becoming a damp squib this season. Sadly, I think a lot more was expected.
I'm not sure they've had a reception outside the numbers Again, I agree with Griff. I don't think this is down on Lamar Jackson. I know he can throw it that far, and I know he could. Yes, he's not got the greatest of accuracy history, but he's not terrible. I think he's actually got. He looked really good at the start of the season. I said it last week. I'll say it again. I think this is down to Greg Roman. I think he's been found out and he can't come up with anything different. And teams know that they don't have to defend that much outside the numbers. They can make sure they kind of funnel all the play down the middle and block off anything that Mark Andrews might have. Mark Andrews had a good game, but he's the only quality receiver on that team. They're not getting anything else out of anyone else, and they're getting nothing out of Marquise Brown at the moment.
Yeah, their second best receiver on the day was Des Bryant with four catches for 28 yards. They aren't helping Lamar at all. I understand this narrative about, okay, he's been found out, but if I surrounded you with Des Bryant, Willie Snead, James Proch, and Patrick Ricard, you'd struggle.
Well, I was Boykin. Well done, John. My favourite part about this whole game was the Titans insisting on having a team meeting. And it proper kicked off, didn't it? Old Harbour was out there.
Got a bit tetchy, didn't it?
Got really tetchy. There's still a little bit of feeling from last year's playoffs, I think, definitely.
Yeah, the coaches didn't shake hands at the end of the game. I think Vrabel went to, and Harbour said no.
What do you say? Going back again, did you see Brady didn't shake anyone's hands after he lost again?
Oh, yeah, but he's a dick.
I saw the video of Goff looking for him. Where are you, Tom? Where are you, Tom? Tom's gone, mate. He lost. He's gone to have some avocado ice cream and getting an ice bath.
Anyway, Browns 22, Eagles 17, which brings the Browns above the Ravens at 7-3.
Bit frightening, isn't it?
Yeah,
It is.
But the Browns should be, with the quality of the roster they have, they should be a 7-3 team.
Yeah, that's it. It's finally a season where sort of expectation meets reality, and normally, unfortunately for the Browns, those are two things that never come close to each other. But yeah,
do you know what I think is really helping this Browns team?
Playing
no Beckham,
no hype,
no Beckham. I think taking that noise away and taking away the focus of the offense being looking for Beckham. The weather's been terrible in Cleveland the last 3 weeks, and their defense has been awesome. They've not been high-scoring games particularly, but we've seen the Browns score a lot of points this season. Paul's right. They've got great players on their roster, but I do think maybe taking that one more ego away from the locker room may just help this Browns team a little bit. They're now in a place where they're 7-3. You normally find teams that have a chance of going to the playoffs and winning something tend to come together a bit more again. I think not having one more superstar in there who isn't quite delivering is all about himself. I think that must be helping loads.
Yeah.
I mean, as well, they have had quite an easy run the last few games. So, they've played the Texans, they've played the Eagles, they played, the Jags. I think, they've still got to play Steelers, Titans again. Well, so.
But you take the Jags out of that because the Jags are a dumpster fire, and they always have been, and we know they. You take the Texans and the Eagles have been playoff teams in the last 2 years. There's no easy games anymore, rather. But the difference with the Browns team this year compared to last year is last year they'd have lost to the Eagles.
You say there's no easy games. They're playing the Jets on the 27th of December.
But that's the Christmas game, isn't it? And bad teams, that's where they're going to get their one. Remember, the Browns always used to get their one at Christmas, didn't they?
Yeah.
It's their present.
Yeah.
They were out. The Browns
Eagles.
were out Myles Garrett. Sorry.
Yes.
They were out Myles Garrett, but other players stepped up. Like Olivier Vernon had 3 sacks on the day. Like Adrian Claiborne had another 1.5 sacks. So we know the Eagles' offensive line is bad, but you still got to go out there and do the job about your leading pass rusher and probably the league's leading pass rusher. And Olivier Vernon's, I think, when he left the Dolphins to go to the Giants, his career sort of just plummeted. He would never really heard of again. That's the first time he's probably ever been mentioned since he made that switch.
But yeah, the only time I've seen him mentioned is when he made the switch, and then when Griff
they traded him. Yeah,
and when Griff slagged him off last season for being a bust, which he was. But he is a talent. It's just they need to utilize it. On the Eagles, they're just bad.
There's nothing to say, really, is there? It's just,
but they still lead the NFC East thanks to that draw with the Bengals.
I think I did text you all saying at one point saying Carson Wentz just needs the season to end. Forget about it. I mean, would you, if you were Doug Peterson, would you consider putting in Jalen Hurts just to see what you've got? Because you're not getting anything from Wentz at the rate he's getting sacked. He's probably going to get another injury at some point.
Yes, I would absolutely do that. I think that's a very good idea.
100%. You've got a man made of porcelain, and what's your rookie going to do? Come in and throw picks? Wentz is doing it anyway.
Yeah.
Well, it's not the fact he's made of porcelain because we're going to.
He's got through this season.
He's got through this. He's getting through another season. He's not made of porcelain.
He's got through this season.
I think the mentality's gone, and I don't see what you're going to lose.
But then on the flip side, they've still got a chance of going to the playoffs.
Well, they're in pole position.
In a really crappy race.
I mean, but still, it's the playoffs. Still could get there.
And then it's anyone's game, apart from whoever is from the NFC East, because they will not go. But but because they're in the playoff hunt, we have to keep the Eagles outside of speed round. And now the Cowboys have re-entered playoff hunts because they beat the Vikings 28-31 to the Cowboys. Are the Vikings just the most disappointing team this season?
History of failure. They're not the most disappointing team this season, but they're right up there with disappointing teams of the season.
Frustrating. I'd call them frustrating because they've got it's almost like the Browns have been for the last couple of years. They've got the players to win, and then they don't. They win some big games, and they lose to the Cowboys, who they should have beaten.
For the Cowboys, I will say that catch by CeeDee Lamb is the highlight of the weekend.
That was good, but the catch by Adam Thielen was as good, if you ask me.
It was good.
It was as good to get his feet in as well.
To get his feet in, but he wasn't parallel to the floor. Fuck you.
CeeDee Lamb was falling over and caught it. Yeah, big deal.
Yeah. It was brilliant.
Look, Dalton is back. That Cowboys roster. A couple of us picked him to go to the Super Bowl. Dalton is back with Zeke, with Amari Cooper, with CeeDee Lamb. There is still opportunities for that Cowboys team to make the playoffs quite easily in that shoddy division.
Everyone in the division is on 3 wins.
It really is not how you start in that division; it's how you finish. And if Dalton can start getting some connections with those players, those offensive players, we know the defense isn't great, but if he can start getting them to score 25 points a game, they will be in more games than they're not, because they've got to play a lot of divisional games.
I thought the defense was better this week.
Finally,
it will be. Finally the linebackers turned up. Like Dalvin Cook, he only had 115 yards, but his longest run was only 16 yards. And that's not the Dalvin Cook we've seen over the last 4 to 5 weeks. And that's down to the fact that Van Der Esch and Jalen Smith are starting to play better. They're getting fitter and they're able to stop the run. If you can stop the run, then you're the Vikings and you have to rely on Kirk Cousins to throw the ball, then you stand a good chance of winning.
If you think Van Der Esch, we were all talking about at the start of the season, really important to the Cowboys, he's coming back. A lot of people on this podcast thought very clearly that Dalton was not a downgrade on Dak. So if that is the case and the defense is getting stronger and you've still got those other pieces and CeeDee Lamb is 3/4 of the way through his rookie season and is now better, then surely, you've got Gallup as well, haven't you? Amari Cooper, Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, Zeke, Pollard. There are options there. If Dalton can be decent, then I don't see any reason why that Cowboys team can't make a late push for the playoffs.
They definitely could. The Cowboys got Zach Martin back as well, and actually they played him at tackle rather than guard because they're that desperate. But he's it's just such a massive upgrade over everything else they've had on that offensive line. And if you can protect Dalton a little bit more, and like you say, you've got the players around him. Like it was Zeke's first 100-yard game of the season. If he can pick up the pace a little bit and have a few more of those, you've got great wide
Tony
receivers.
Pollard looks so much more explosive than Zeke. He just looks like a man who's interested in playing, and Zeke doesn't.
But that's fine. You have a 1-2 punch. It's fine not to lean 100% on Zeke if you've got someone else. It makes it even better because you can keep him fresh. So, like,
that's a very rosy way of looking at the Zeke problem, which is he can't be asked.
Well, maybe, but you're paying him a lot of money, so you better get involved in the game.
We're making excuses about the line, but Pollard was averaging 12 yards a carry. Zeke is averaging less than 5 with the same O-line in the same game. I think that tells you everything that's going on there. I don't think Zeke's bothered. He knows the season's lost.
Zeke used to get quite a lot of yards receiving as well, though. His receiving yards have definitely dipped this year.
Yeah.
You know, it normally when Zeke is on the field right now, you know it's going to be an outside run. That's what's coming, and teams are set up for it. And a lot of the time, it's been in losing games, and then if you're behind, you start throwing the ball, don't you? No matter who you've got at quarterback, because you've got a certain amount of time to score a certain amount of points. So I think some of it will be down to situational football. If Dalton can keep him in games, you will see more and more of Zeke. And if Pollard's there as well, then happy days. I think you'll see them really improve over the next 3 to 4 weeks. That's just my humble opinion.
I think it's a perfectly good shout. And I stand by the fact that if you keep Dalton upright, I think this team can do good things. I'm just saying, when we were talking about the Ravens, we were talking about not having enough wide receivers to elevate the quarterback. In this team, the Cowboys team, it should be the running back elevating everybody else, and he doesn't because he can't be asked.
But then they've got another running back who can, so it's not a big problem, is it?
So use him more is what I'm saying. Tony Pollard should be getting a lot more work.
Yeah, well, for the Vikings made it easier for them really because defensively they were toilet.
They have been all season, to be fair.
Yeah.
Shocking, really. I think this summed up the Vikings season. It's very much like the Patriots in the fact that you've got some pieces, you've got 1 or 2 talented players, your defense isn't turning up week to week. So if then your quarterback or your running back don't elevate the team enough, you're out of the game. Even in games you should win, they're both going to be similar results this weekend because we're going to talk about the Patriots as well against the Texans, and it's a similar sort of thing. I would have picked the Patriots and the Vikings to win these 2 games, and it's gone the other way because if the defenses can't step up and do just enough, they've got nothing. They've got no way offensively of going past it, even with Dalvin Cook being as good as he is.
Cool. Well, anyone got anything? Otherwise, we'll move on to Raiders 31, Chiefs 35. Raiders failed to get 2 wins over the Chiefs this season.
Surprise.
Who'd have thought it? But
they played well, to be fair.
They did play well, yeah.
Yeah, as well. I predicted a Raiders win for this one, so
strong.
I know, but I just think they're really good.
No one's talking about it, but Derek Carr is having a sterling season. Like he's really playing. Yeah. Considering the amount of grief that he was getting pre-season and the amount of rumours that were swirling about him being replaced, he's got 2,431 yards, 19 touchdowns to 3 interceptions, and he's nearly 80 quarterback rating. I mean, like this is going to be a career high season for him at this rate. If he gets this Raiders team into the playoffs as well, that'd be a great progress under Gruden. Suddenly, the 10-year plan is starting to work. I think. I'm not saying it's going to succeed over the 10 years, but at least you can see what they're doing. The team is building really well.
I think this is the thing I've said about the Raiders previously, that Super Bowl winning head coach with team full of first round picks does well. Yeah. Isn't a surprise.
They do still have Nathan Peterman on the roster.
But that's fine. You think about it. There's the Cowboys had Cooper Rush. The Vikings had Sean Mannion. There's some toilet pony quarterbacks in this league on backup. But for me, the Raiders should be pushing the Chiefs.
Yeah.
In 2 years' time, this Raiders team could be Super Bowl winners.
Yeah, and
Paul Fab was calling it early.
Well, I said the Chiefs were going to win the Super Bowl 2 years before, and they did comfortably.
True.
Well, it's a done deal then, isn't it?
oh God, I'm not looking forward to that.
I don't think any of us are.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
Chase will have to be taken out of the group.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, unfortunately, we can't slag him off because he announced it over a Zoom chat on a Sunday. He doesn't listen to this anymore because he got tired of us slagging him off.
It's not going to stop us slagging it off, is it? I agree with you, Paul. I think the Raiders are doing well. I think they're greater than the sum of their parts because you still look for especially on the defense, you look for the roster, it's still a load of not really sure about that. But players like Max Crosby and even Jonathan Abram, I know that Jonathan Abram's a first-round pick and he was injured last year, but he is flying around the field at the moment and playing brilliantly. And again, they managed to find a formula to almost beat the Chiefs. They've beaten them once this season. They come close to beating them again. So you can't. You have to take them seriously, don't you? Like,
Well, Josh Jacobs helps, doesn't he?
That helps massively. But
Yeah,
he is brilliant.
He had a quite
an
quiet
average
game. Though. 50 yards and a touchdown, but
Yeah, but across the season, he makes a massive difference to that team.
yeah, of course he does.
well, it's noticeable that how badly they tailed last season when he got injured.
Yeah, of course.
Because-
No pressure
you know,
off the car that way.
Because obviously, Griff spouted a load of car stats earlier, which are perfectly valid, but his yardage is still 17th in the league this year.
Yeah.
So it sounds amazing, but it's not like he is going
No,
and winning them games, is he?
He's
playing
not
very
so
well.
massive, But the fact that he's limited the turnovers is it compensates for the slight lack of yardage, if you like.
Yeah.
What is he, third overall or second overall in turnovers?
Yeah.
He might even be top now because Aaron Rodgers threw a pick.
He's hardly been sacked as well. 14 times he's been sacked
They're
this
doing a
season.
great job. They're doing
So
a great job.
the O-line's doing very well as well.
I should mention Le'Veon Bell finally scoring a touchdown for the first time in what feels like forever.
It's amazing when a good player plays for a good team and is cared for.
Yeah.
But, it's amazing when you've got a coach who is actually an offensive genius rather than it's offensive that people call him a genius.
Yeah. Well, we'll leave it there and we'll come back for the second half for what is basically the Packers Colts and then speed round.
Speed round.
Okay, welcome back to part 2 of the Snap UK Week 11 podcast. So let's go straight into one of the few remaining games that actually matters. Colts 34, Packers 31. All down to my main man Rodrigo Blankenship. My fantasy player of the year, and potential rookie of the year candidate, quite frankly. But
you can't get rookie of the year because you wear glasses.
What are you saying about people who wear glasses?
But they can't be rookie of the year.
They don't deserve sporting awards.
Jesus.
No. Yeah, it was always going to be, I think, a close game, this one. But yeah, Colts edging it.
Yeah.
Do you want to start me on this one?
Well, two future Hall of Fame quarterbacks going up against each other. Always going to be a good one.
I mean, the stats are strikingly similar, if I'm honest. They're virtually identical.
Well, the achievements is where they differ.
Yes, the achievements is where they differ. Yeah.
I'm having a nice day. Don't ruin it.
We've got the same amount of wins this year.
The most important thing for the Colts here was that Jonathan Taylor turned up for the first time in about 5 weeks.
Yeah, he had a good
but
Rivers needs that.
He does, but as well, it's not a surprise the Packers can't
defend against the run.
Can't defend against the run.
This Colts defense is a
Brilliant.
top 3 defense in the league.
Oh,
They were flying around the field on Sunday night. Like Rodgers had a lot of completions, but every time he when the receivers got the ball, every time there's a run, the Colts defense was just there. They're on top of them, and that's why they lost at the end. It's like Marcus Valdez-Scantling got that ball, and immediately there were Colts defenders all over him, and he fumbled, and the Colts have managed to recover, and the rest is history. So it's the win is as much for Colts defense, who I thought played brilliantly, even though they gave up 31 points, as it is for anything that future Hall of Famer Philip Rivers did. Paul, you've not been here for a while.
I couldn't agree more. I think
last time we spoke about it, I woke my wife up. She had an early night. She went to bed. I woke her up. I got that angry. I was banging the desk.
I wonder what you were going to say then.
From our conversation with Rivers.
So you were banging so hard it woke your wife up?
Just at the thought of Philip Rivers.
Well, fair enough.
Yeah, we also had a good game again from Michael Pittman, who's getting better each week we see him. So, probably Rookie of the Year is going to go to a quarterback, as it always will. But, there's a good few rookie wide receivers. God, try saying that quickly. That could kind of...
A good few rookie wide receivers.
Well done.
Well done, Mr. I'm drinking nothing but slow gin tonight. There's a lot of wide receivers who are in their rookie years who could also push what is probably Justin Herbert to win the award now. I think Pittman and Brandon Ayuk are two that are right up there. 3 receptions, 66 yards, but he just looks so much better, and it's what the Colts need. And we saw T.Y. Hilton finally, get some passes this year and actually do something with the ball, and he's done nothing up until this game. So it was a good all-round performance, but the win does belong to the defense.
Yeah. Anyone got anything for Strad on the Packers side?
Well,
it helps when you keep Aaron Jones quiet. It's like the opposite to what the Colts got out of Taylor. Jones was the quietest game he's had this year, and again, Rodgers, as good as he is, needs his running back to provide some of the lift for the team. So, as long as you can keep either him or Devontae Adams quiet, you've got a chance against the Packers.
I think this was an interesting game to see two very tightly matched teams go up against each other. That Colts defense come out on top. Buckner was such a great addition to that team. It's made a huge difference. If you put talent like that on your defensive line, you really do. I know they still gave up 30 points, but when it mattered, that defense stepped up, and I think it's really important. It'd be interesting to see where both of these teams, how far they get in the playoffs. They're both clearly playoff teams, so they could both be outside bets for the Super Bowl. You could see that Colts defense doing something to that Chiefs team if they come up against them. I'd probably still say the Chiefs are favourite, but you wouldn't be 100%, would you?
No. When it comes to playoffs, and it is that sort of thing. A defense like that could really, the Chiefs, when he got to the playoffs last year, their defense suddenly improved, and that's what got them through. As well as having Mahomes and having that defense could be absolutely vital.
And let's not forget, the 49ers almost beat the Chiefs with a really good defense. I would take Philip Rivers over Jimmy Garoppolo to make some of the passes that Garoppolo missed in that match, and it would have been a different story.
Yeah.
One of the important things, the Colts play the Titans this week on Sunday. They've already beaten them once this year, 2 weeks ago, in fact. I think if they win that game, they're almost a shoo-in to win the AFC South, and they're there. And it's at that point, with the Steelers and the Chiefs doing so well, they probably ruled out getting that number one slot, so they're not going to get a bye. You can see them resting a couple of players and making sure that they go into the playoffs fully fit.
Yeah. Would you say this is Rivers' best ever chance of winning the Super Bowl?
Absolutely, yeah.
I can't wait for him to go out in the first round.
He's not had an offensive line like this for years, and the Chargers' defense, I don't think has ever been as good as what the Colts' defense is currently.
I mean, looking at the Colts' schedule going ahead, when it comes to, they have they have an easy game followed by a hard game. So they've got Titans, which is a hard game, followed by like they have some absolute shite. Texans twice.
Well, they got to play Texans twice, the Raiders and Steelers and Jaguars,
and potentially the Jags. There's some but the hard games might cost them against the Titans. So
I mean, looking at those 6 games, they're going to win 3 of them. So that puts them at 10-3, and then it's a coin toss probably between the other 3. Let's say they win another one. If this team finishes 11-5, that's a great result.
It is, yeah, it is, and that's I guess it sort of justifies bringing in the 2014 whatever it was comeback player of the year.
Don't.
I'm not saying not. I agree. I don't think he should be in the Hall of Fame. Okay, speed round.
Is this where I take speed?
Sorry. Yeah. So, no more than a few minutes on each game. Texans 27, Patriots 20.
Well,
really bad loss.
Just goes to prove that we don't have a defense and that Deshaun Watson is a man's man because he just destroyed everybody his way to running in a touchdown. And our underrated best player of the year has been Rex Burkhead, and he's out for the rest of the season. So it's game over.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's summed up, brother.
Deshaun Watson is just getting ruined being in that awful Texans team now. JJ Watt, still brilliant. That's about all you can really say.
Yeah.
Brandon Cooks revenge game.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson's on schedule to pass for 4,600 yards, 32 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. Any other team, like any good team, and a slightly better team, then he's pulling that team into the playoffs. But it's just so bad that even that magical performance can't get them there.
And he's thrown it to Will Fuller as well.
Yeah, Will Fuller's looking awesome.
Only because of him.
Yeah. Shout out to Cam Newton, though. Cam Newton had a good day passing, 365 yards, touchdown, no interception. That's a decent result for him.
He finally got a connection with Darius Bird, who they played together at the Panthers, and that's fine. But it's sort of too late because all the other bits that have been any good are falling by the wayside. So, the Patriots are also an extremely disappointing team, like we were saying about the Vikings earlier. Frustratingly disappointing. But at the same time, like the worst thing as a fan is I still don't know what the plan is. What is the quarterback plan? It can't be Cam. That can't be the answer. So what's the answer?
Completely write off this season and hope for the best.
Yeah, that'll do.
I mean, they are planning like the Homer Simpson method. They are basically hiding under a big pile of coats and hoping everybody leaves. It's like hide under a pile of coats and hope for the best. That's literally the Patriots' plan for this season. I love it.
Yep.
I was going to say it was the Brandon Cooks revenge game but with 85 yards and whatever. But after he's hitting the Super Bowl, I don't think he probably remembers playing for the Patriots. So let's okay. Which one's next? It is
Dolphins Broncos.
Oh, Dolphins 13, Broncos 20.
Significant thing here was the return of Fitzmagic. Brought back when Tua basically didn't move the offense. And Fitzmagic got them all the way down to the 4-yard line before he threw a pick in typical Fitz style. But that's a short leash on Tua.
Yes, it is if you were just looking at the performance. No, it isn't if you're looking at performance and the amount of times he was getting hit and his injury history. Brian Flores knew the game was lost, knew that Tua wasn't going to drag him into it, was probably a little bit worried about his fitness and him getting. I mean, there was a moment where he was almost injured, and because there was a lot of conjecture about whether he was replaced because he was injured or he was replaced because of form. It's come out that it was because of form, but he wasn't 100% when he got taken off anyway. So when you've got a future franchise quarterback, you're playing a team who are absolutely playing brilliantly on defense to get to you all the time. I think it was a sensible decision by Flores to take Tua out.
But every time they play a decent defense, they're just going to take him out in case he gets injured again.
No, he's not going to be less than a year. He's not going to be less than a year removed from an injury every single year.
Don't play him. If you don't think he's fit, don't play him. That's a terrible decision. It's a pussy decision.
He got sacked 6 times.
Take it. Learn.
He took it
Move.
6 times.
Awful decision. If that's the reason, that's dreadful. That's
Well,
not
he didn't.
a quarterback that you can have for your team.
On the plus side, he threw a touchdown and didn't throw an interception.
That's true. But still.
Yeah. For the Broncos, Melvin Gordon appeared again.
Turned up.
After he's been missing after his DUI, but yeah, finally let off the leash this week, and yeah, suddenly the Broncos have a running game again, which
I'm
helps.
glad we're covering the Broncos based on the high horse you were just on around Stewart.
Yeah, very good. I'm just saying, Fitzpatrick didn't get sacked at all, and he threw the same.
He was only in the game
passes.
for a quarter.
Yeah, but he threw the same number of passes.
Yeah, and he threw an interception.
It's a terrible, terrible coaching decision if that's why. Pathetic. You know I can't stand pussies playing football.
Okay, the Jets scored 28 points. Yay!
And
The
lost.
Chargers though scored 34.
How chargery would it be?
There was a lot of time there
Yeah.
where people thought the Chargers are throwing this away. It's going to be amazing. How are they doing this? But I know you're going to get to Burrows in a minute, but Justin Herbert's got Rookie of the Year sewn up now, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Not with that haircut.
Not with that haircut, but with that playing ability, yes, he has.
He's got a haircut you can set your watch to now. That's what you want.
Well, he's lost millions in sponsorship deals, isn't he? Look at him.
He looks like
great, but then
he does look like a schoolboy with that haircut, doesn't he? I mean, yeah. But he's playing like a man in that team, and he is like it was a career day for Keenan Allen, wasn't it? 16 receptions, 145 yards, and a touchdown. There seems to be a connection there between the two of them already. Some of the passes that Justin Herbert made, I think, like Duncan sent one to our group, and before I don't know why, still really don't know why he sent that. But anyway, before the ball had pretty much, it felt like before the ball had left Herbert's hands, it was already in the receiver's hands. It was that fast. It was brilliant.
Yeah. No, Keenan Allen is one of those wide receivers that seems to be quarterback proof. Really, he's a brilliant wide receiver. And obviously, he wanted to get in just in time for our wide receiver top 10 list.
Of course, and he's playing very well. Frank Gore scored a touchdown.
Yeah,
he did. Yeah, Hall of Fame.
Yeah, as did LaMichael Pirine, as did Joe Flacco, who scored 2 touchdowns and actually played all right. Like it didn't look any different for this team if they'd had Sam Darnold or Joe Flacco. And I don't know whether that's testament to Flacco or a reflection of how badly regressed Sam Darnold has been.
A little bit of both, I think.
I mean, if the Chargers carry on with this, basically you take Keenan Allen out of the Chargers, Justin Herbert got to look across the field at what his future is. Seeing how things are with Darnold at the moment, I think. But yeah, I mean, it's just I can't understand. Like, we'd say there shouldn't be a team going into the playoffs from the NFC East. They shouldn't be the Jets.
Or just as a team.
We did say this last license to play this year.
We did say they should merge the New York teams together. They share a stadium anyway, and then they'd both still be crap. Merge together into New York, whatever. They'd just be one crap team.
I was looking at the standings of from the Giants down at the end of this week, and the bottom 7 teams or whatever have just been bad for a while now.
Yeah.
There don't seem to be much movement. They're just pretty much, apart from 1 or 2, it's the same teams every year.
Yeah. We go on about it every year. Some teams are just run badly.
Yeah.
And that's what it is.
Yeah.
The Browns were run badly for years, and they finally made enough changes that it's different. But the Bengals, on the other hand, have got all this intake of players high up in the draft, and they're still badly run.
We'll get on to them.
Just the Jets remaining games: Dolphins, Raiders, Seahawks, Rams, Browns, Patriots.
They're going to lose all of them except the Patriots game.
Yeah, I mean,
I think you might be right. Actually,
I think you might be.
Yeah,
it depends what Patriots team turns up, doesn't it?
Patriots. And it'll mainly be because Belichick wants to make sure that the Jags get the first pick, not the Jets. It'll just throw the game. It'll be hilarious.
Well, let's move on to them. Jags 3, Steelers 27. The Jags are shit. The Steelers are great.
Yeah.
They didn't even play down this week because they can't play that far down.
Really can't, can they?
They played pretty much the best game that they've played all season, because there was not one iota in this game did you think the Jags have got a chance. They never stood. They weren't even worthy of being on the same field. No,
exactly. And we go on about Rookie of the Year. Chase Claypool having a really great season.
Mm-hmm.
So if they did think beyond a quarterback, he could be one of those receivers.
Could definitely be another one in there. I mean, we've talked about a couple of teams, and I know we've argued over the Bears about their lack of balance, the same with the Seahawks, but teams like the Steelers and the Saints and the Chiefs to some extent, they've got quality on both sides of the ball. They're really well-balanced teams, and I think this Steelers the best of the bunch because the defense is the number one defense in the league, bar none, and the offense, it's not that it's just doing enough. I think Ben Roethlisberger is just doing enough, but he's got so many playmakers around him that you'd think they'd challenge any team out there. It's getting difficult to look past the Steelers being one of the favourites, well, obviously one of the favourites, but very, very top favourite for getting to the Super Bowl.
I mean, for the Steelers, I mean, last year, what they've really added from this point, from last year, is they've got Ben back and they've added Chase Claypool.
Yeah.
And they've gone from an 8-8 to a 10-0 team. Just how shit is Doc Hodges?
Well, yeah.
But anyway, it's getting quite hard to cover the Steelers because they're just great and they're playing toss teams. So they're just going to continue winning. I think who they got this week? The Ravens. So a harder game, but they're still going to win that.
You'd think. I think the fact that you can have Juju, Deontay, and Chase Claypool on the field at the same time is just a massive advantage. That group of three at the moment is playing at the highest level of any group of three receivers on any team.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
James Conner is barely being used, really.
Yeah.
They don't have to establish the run, which is what they always used to do. So, and Glenn still looks fairly fresh after missing most of last year. I think that's key. I think it's really helped him to have a year off.
The more I look at him as well, I don't think this is his last year. Unless they win, I don't think this is his last year.
Yeah, if they win it all, I think he'll retire. But other than that, I think he can keep playing.
I think he can keep going. If they don't win, I don't think they will.
Can we all agree though? Can we all agree he's going to the Hall of Fame?
Yes.
Yeah.
Paul?
No issues from me.
All right.
I was gonna try and throw the cat amongst the pigeons with is Flacco Hall of Fame worthy? I'm gonna
no.
disappear now.
It's a very short debate.
Football team 20, Bengals 9, and for the Bengals, it's the main thing is they've lost Burrow, an ACL, an MCL,
and additional
it's
structural damage.
It's the same thing that happened to Wentz. He had 14 months off.
Yep. It's going to be a year before you see Burrow on the field as a starter, which means the Bengals are knackered for next year as well. It's exactly what it means. Ryan Finley should not be a quarterback in this league. He's not.
Shouldn't be a backup quarterback.
No, and they are.
He's why we have the XFL.
Yeah, but they're in danger of now being obscure for another year and a half, because even when Burrow comes back, it'll be too late for next year. So what do they do? Do you go and find a veteran and play him next year?
Tyrod Taylor's out there.
Yeah, that's not a bad shout, to be fair. It'd be an upgrade, a massive upgrade on what they've got
Cam?
right now. Do you know...
Jameis?
I heard a little whisper that maybe they'll be going back after Andy Dalton.
Well, why wouldn't you?
Dalton will go back, won't he?
No, he would never go back.
I don't think he'd go back, but they got to pay somebody and play him.
Yeah.
He wouldn't go back.
I think
As well-
Jameis, you got Jameis and Tyrod, didn't you, out there?
Yeah.
The more I
Dwayne
look,
Haskins would be cheap.
Yeah.
Roll the dice.
the more I
It's not a
read
bad
about
shout.
the Bengals, it just looks like an absolute clusterfuck of an organisation.
So, did you say Dwayne Haskins?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually what I wrote down in my phone in my notes to say maybe they should just go and sign Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah, why not?
Or-
Cost them nothing.
Well,
Here you
him
go.
or
Is
Josh
a
Rosen.
fourth-round pick.
Yeah.
Like, it's a fourth
They won't
round
even.
pick.
I don't think it'd be a fourth round.
Fifth, maybe. You know.
Yeah,
I'd
the
love to see
slur
Josh
is-
Rosen get a go behind a decent O-line.
Josh Rosen, yeah. Well, that's not a decent O-line. That's the
No,
problem.
it's
Like this injury's been coming because like Burrows has been hit left, right, and centre, and I think
that's it,
any Bengals fan is probably just wishing they'll get through the season with him still fit, and then they can draft or bring in a heavy free agent signing in terms of the offensive line.
The offensive line is awful, and their
Yeah.
coach is the O-line coach, Jim Turner, is just the worst.
Trubisky,
don't-
Foles. You know, there's so many people out there you could go and get.
Yeah, for anyone
Me.
who remember Jim Turner was the guy who's in charge of the Dolphins O-line when he was part of Bullygate.
Fitzpatrick. They could bring in Fitzpatrick.
Could fit
Yeah,
well, yeah.
he could well
Is
be
that one?
back.
Is that one of the teams?
I like the way no one's listening to John. We're just literally all just thinking of quarterback names.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
John's
No, it's
making
fine.
like a really important research point, and we're all just going Kaepernick, Tyrod Taylor.
Did you just mention a dirty word?
Yeah, you're not allowed to say
I
that
just-
word anymore.
I just snuck it in there without anyone noticing.
Alex Smith,
Yeah.
though, winning.
First time since 2018.
winning a
Yeah,
football
yeah,
game,
exactly, yeah.
The first time since losing a leg. I hope he got a chance to speak to Burrows and say,
Yeah.
this can be done. Because
Hey, given
there
the
was
type,
certainly
given
some
the type,
irony there. somewhere.
yeah, given the type of player that Alex Smith is and type of man he is, I would say it absolutely happened.
Yeah.
I'm sure it will. I think
Yeah.
from the
I don't think Ron Rivera is getting quite enough credit for standing behind Alex Smith and saying, I'm going to keep you on the team. Because where would this team be right now without him?
without a quarterback.
But they have looked so competitive every time he has played. Even in the games they lost, even when he came in halfway through a game. Like, the fact that they kept him and Rivera made the big fight to keep him, I think is huge for this team. Because everyone else has to look at him and be inspired. You can't fail to be inspired, surely. So, it's good things.
Yeah, and you look at this. You look at the Washington team, and you say, okay, again, like we said, the NFC East, they're in with a chance of winning the NFC East. They played Dallas on Thursday night. With the defensive line they've got, you wouldn't put it past them to beat Dallas.
That's a matchup of two quarterbacks who probably didn't think they'd be trying to lead teams in the playoff race as well.
Yeah, exactly.
That's quite a game. Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Oh God! Imagine Ryan Finley in the fucking playoffs. Not Ryan Finley.
And Dalton.
And Dalton. Oh. Anyway.
But he's won more games than potential Hall of Famer Philip Rivers.
He has.
True.
Cool. Back to speed round. Panthers 20, Lions 0. Good.
That's enough.
Okay.
Yeah. I know we can't mention PJ
just-
Walker.
PJ Walker, yeah, really good.
PJ Walker.
He looked all right.
Very good. Yeah. Very capable as a backup. I think that's
He
his
played
ceiling.
against the Lions, though.
Yeah.
They're
I'd say that's
shit.
probably his ceiling. Matt Stafford isn't fit, and the Lions have got no chance if Matt Stafford's not fit. That's them done.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was. I saw a few shouts for Patricia's head again. We were only saying a couple of weeks ago that he'd kept his job because
I don't think.
I saw it on more like fan zones, and stuff like that. But definitely, there seems to be some people calling. Some Lions fans are starting to call for his head.
Yeah.
They're
4-6,
and they've got a quarterback who isn't fit, and their team plays the way he plays. On
They've got
his
no-
good days, they win, and on the bad days, it doesn't. So
The number one receiver's injured. The number one running back was out this week as well. And
Yeah.
Peterson and Karen Johnson didn't get anything done. And it's like the Panthers defense is not brilliant. Like you'd expect them to get something against them, and they've got nothing.
Well, what I was trying to say whilst you were just naming quarterbacks, is is it now time for Zach Taylor to go in
Nate
Cincinnati?
What?
No, it's not.
Because if you're not going to get rid of him now, what are you going to do?
Why get rid of him now? It's not his fault. He's a quarterback. He's got injured.
He's won 4 games in 2 years.
But he's
I'm with John. I've already been on this bandwagon. He does not look head coach worthy.
They bought him in because he's a new McVay, and he's won 4 games in 2 years. All right, Burrow looks good, but that's Burrow. Burrow is good. He's not given him he's not got a team. The O-line, as I say, the O-line coach is an abortion of a coach who should be in the NFL. Why are we, what are you going to do? Give him another 2 years? Because
who are you going to replace him with? Who are you going to replace him with? And also,
I don't think. What can you get worse?
Well, you're right. It doesn't matter because it's not down to the head coach. The problem in Cincinnati is the head office, the lack of scouting department, and the non-existent GM. Like, this is a team building thing. It's easy. It's easy to go into the draft with the number 1 pick and pick the best quarterback in the draft and put him in. That's like.
Hang on, I refer you to Jamarcus Russell. Ryan
but
Leaf,
at the time, any other GM on those teams probably would have made that pick as well. Like, it's still a crapshoot. You still take it's always a risk, if it's the number 1 pick or the number 254th pick. It's still a risk, but you can make that pick. The Bengals have criminally underfunded their scouting department for years and years and years and years. And you look at, you don't win. Your franchise doesn't become a good franchise of the first round. It becomes a good franchise of the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round, because that's where you find players that are worth more value. The Bengals haven't done that for years. Like, they get the 1st round pick is normally okay, although sometimes bad. John Ross. The 2nd round pick is sometimes okay, usually bad, and after that, it's complete dross. Like, realistically. So I don't think it's Zach Taylor. I think this team, I said it before, this team has made progress from last year to this year. It's shit that Burrow's got injured. Next year, they strengthen the offensive line and strengthen the defense, but I don't think they will. But I don't think that's on Zach Taylor. That's on the whole organization to better itself and bring in better quality scouts and players.
But I'm just saying, you can't fire him next year because you're going, he hasn't got his quarterback, which means you're then going to have him for 4 years. At which point you've probably only won 8 games.
How long did they have Marvin Lewis?
Marvin Lewis got into the playoffs though.
Marvin Lewis was a good,
but not for a good number of years.
Zach Taylor's coaching record is currently scarily close to Hugh Jackson's coaching record in Cleveland. And why would you wait to see if it goes that way?
But it doesn't. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter if you sack the coach because you're going to bring in another coach who's going to have exactly the same problems.
Yeah, but you can bring in a bridge. You can bring in someone and say, "You're here to get us through till Burrow comes back. We'll find someone in the meantime."
But it's not just Zach Taylor. The whole
That's what I mean. It's the whole organisation. So we've got absolutely no idea really if Zach Taylor is a good coach or not, because what he's been given to work with has been absolute dross. Apart from now Joe Burrow and probably T. Higgins. Like, he's the
Josh Rosen of head coaches.
No, I think, I see where you're going with that. But I think he's better than what Josh Rosen is as a quarterback. But this isn't on the coach. This is on everything above him. So I don't think you can judge him based on what he's had to work with. And I think he's actually done a pretty decent job.
I like it when John has an opinion, and I'm entirely with John on this. I think you have to make a decision now because otherwise it's 2 more years before you're going to know.
But that's just it. You're going to bring in another coach who's got exactly the same problems. So what are you learning by sacking Zach Taylor?
Well, I'm enjoying this speed round.
Yeah. Anyway, that's over. We're now going to go on about our wide receivers because last week we did running backs. This week we picked our top 10 wide receivers. Last time we did this was 2 years ago. Anyone remember who was number 1?
Brown.
It was Antonio Brown.
Yeah, AB. Yeah. I'm sure we've all put him back in our top 10 this time, haven't we?
Mm-hmm. No, not quite. Not quite. He fails to make an appearance, and then
very much like him.
I think that week, I think Gary was away that week, and then I think me, Jim, Griff, and Fourth Inch sat there and went, "Oh yeah, now AB's won. We actually think Michael Thomas is better." So that's the first 2. Are not a surprise to anyone really. Guessing who's number 1? I guess who's number 1?
Hopkins.
It's DeAndre Hopkins. He was number 1 with everyone apart from Jim, who put him at number 2. Anyone want to guess who number 2 is?
Devontae Adams.
Devontae Adams, who was number 2 at everyone apart from Jim, who had him at number 1, and Paul, who had him at number 3. So on our point score, DeAndre Hopkins got 49. Devontae Adams got 46 out of 50. Then, okay. Do you want to guess the players who missed the top 10? Anyone you think? Anyone?
Kenny Golladay.
Kenny Golladay. He got picked by Jim.
Me, yeah.
In 10th, so he got 1 point. We also had Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, I had him at 10.
Bit early for that.
Devontae Parker, picked by me, number 10.
What about AJ Brown?
AJ Brown didn't get picked by anyone, but I think me and Gary were saying he was very near on my top 10, but he didn't make it.
What about Chris Godwin?
Didn't get picked.
Really? I thought
Didn't
one
get
of you would have picked him.
I sent a list of notable absences along with my 10 because my notable absences were AJ Brown, Calvin Ridley, outperforming Julio in yards and touchdowns this year.
I'd still take Julio over him.
Godwin. Yeah. I actually had Robbie Anderson as a notable absence as well this year because he's played well this year.
Yeah, he has played well.
Obviously, Odell Beckham didn't make the top 10, obviously.
No
Amari
Browns.
Cooper, John.
Amari Cooper, he was my number 8, but no one else's.
Yeah, because again, they had nobody throw into him. And I bet Tyler Lockett didn't get many picks either.
None.
But again, could easily be argued.
Could be, yeah.
Could be argued. As well, I think I was saying to Gary before we started that one of my favourite wide receivers I couldn't put in the top 10 because I think he's class, but Allen Robinson just gets overthrown every week.
And I bet if you look at your list from 2 years ago, I bet T.Y. Hilton's on that list, and has he dropped out of the atmosphere this year.
And I think probably, Jarvis Landry would have appeared as well.
AJ Green.
AJ Green, no longer there. Okay, 3rd place. Who wants to have a guess?
Got to be Michael Thomas.
Hill or Thomas.
Yeah,
Keenan Allen and Tyreek Hill equal.
Oh, yeah, I had Keenan Allen well up my list.
I forgot Michael Thomas in mine.
I did forget Michael Thomas.
I deliberately omitted him from mine.
Well, Michael Thomas is just behind in 5th place and probably would have been 3rd if Paul would have remembered him and Griff wouldn't have neglected to have him because he's a dick. Although he also did pick Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I don't know, but Tyreek Hill was a dick before he came into the NFL. Michael Thomas has transitioned into being a dick because he wants.
He's still not that big a dick.
I just wouldn't. I was looking at who I'd want in my team, and I wouldn't want him basically.
After
Same reason I left Cheek out last week.
Diggs will be in there soon.
Yeah, Diggs.
Julio Jones. Julio Jones is ahead of.
Do you know what? I was so close to bumping Julio out of the
same
top 10
as I was.
No, not at all. He's still
he's a massive difference maker.
Look, he gets 100 yards most games, but he hasn't scored a lot of touchdowns for the last few years. His injuries are starting to pile up on him.
Yeah,
the last
they
2
are.
or 3 years as well. As he's getting older, he had the toe issue a couple of years ago. This year he struggled a little bit. So yeah, I've got him in mind, but he was touch and go.
I almost dropped him just because, but then I did think I don't think the issues with touchdowns are his fault. It's because the Falcons can't plan a way to get him in use. It's not his fault. It's just a less extreme Allen Robinson.
Did anyone have Scary Terry in other than me?
Yes.
I did.
Well,
really?
Scary Terry was picked by Paul in 10th, Gary in 9th, and Griff in 7th.
Yeah.
I think he looks really good. Yeah.
I think on a better team, he's a top 5 receiver, no problem.
In between, so there's in between Jones and Scary Terry is Stephon Diggs and Mike Evans. Adam Thielen rounds out the top 10.
No DK Metcalf. Surprised at that.
No, you can only run one way.
That's not
close.
true, though, is it? That's not true, is it?
Was
I had him in 5th.
Pick Cooper Kupp?
You were the only person to pick
definitely.
Cooper Kupp. Yeah, so Amari Cooper Kupp are 11th and 12th. And that is our top 10. So
Well, it's bullshit.
Next week we're doing
That's bullshit.
Next week we're doing defensive linemen. Woohoo!
Okay,
So we're moving to the other side of the
Aaron
ball.
Donald and then everyone else.
Alan AD +9.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh.
Okay, now I want your locks because last week we did an absolutely abysmal job.
Because you don't let us actually pick locks, do you? You want us to pick really difficult games, which aren't locks, are they?
Hey, we didn't
Like,
do that. I got mine.
If
Paul got his.
if you pick an actual lock, you get destroyed on this podcast.
Yep.
You're supposed to pick a game that's a completely 50-50 game and call it a lock.
Yeah.
So we're not going to do very well, are we?
No. The idea is that you think, I'll pick a lock, but we don't like namby-pamby wussy decisions. I'm going to guess that the Dolphins are going to beat the Chargers.
I'll take football team over Cowboys then.
Yeah. The Dolphins are playing the Jets.
I know that was Gary's wuss one from 2 weeks before. I'm
going to take. Sorry, what did you just take, Griff?
Football team over Cowboys.
I'm going to take the Chiefs over Buccaneers.
Who wants to go next?
I'm going to take the Buccaneers over the Chiefs.
Oh,
wow.
I see.
Well, let me find another game.
I'm going to say the Colts over the Titans.
That's what I was going to say, you bitch.
Well, I think the
You can tell it's getting late.
I'll just keep drinking more and more slow gin. That's the issue, really.
Nobody fancies taking the Bengals over the Giants because I think that'd be hilarious.
I'm looking at this Ravens Steelers game, but I don't like it. So, wow, the Steelers have got to lose eventually, surely.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Fuck it, I'm going to go Ravens over Steelers.
Oh, I like it.
Gary goes brave.
Oh, well, fuck it. Nobody actually cares.
Well,
you should, because you're probably winning this at the moment.
Yeah, you probably are, aren't you?
Well, because of my one pick, which was a one-score game that I got abused about.
You're at 50%, which is probably about as high as we've got. Of course, for those who will watch on YouTube, that we do have me and Griff and Paul have a predictions show, which we are doing abysmally at.
No. You two are doing abysmally at. I'm doing okay at.
Paul. Yeah. Just a little thing we're testing out, see if it works.
So just let me check. These games on Thursday, are they actually at like 5:30 in the evening our time? Yeah.
It's the Thanksgiving week.
I might be taking Thursday afternoon off. Coming home early.
Well, yeah. I'm off as well. Happy days.
Into my pants and be comfortable. Let me soaking in anyone else's pants. That's whatever. Go on.
Unfortunately, I don't have Game Pass, so I will be just.
John, I think we've firmly established that you can open my Game Pass on your laptop if I can remember the password. I'll have a look.
Well, whatever. We're not advocating for fraud here.
Yeah, we are.
But anyway, on that note,
hang on. Before you go, Duncan revealing that there was a second version of Red Zone blew my mind. I did not realise that this existed.
There's another Scott Hansen.
There's another Scott Hansen. And is it Andrew Siciliano?
Andrew Siciliano, yeah.
There's a different version of Red Zone that you can see on another channel in America.
Wow, is there?
Yeah, that's what we did. We John and I were like, what? Yeah, apparently East Coast gets one and West Coast gets the other.
Wow.
What do you think's the most notable feature about Andrew Siciliano?
It is.
Be careful, he'll hear you.
But yeah, no. Apparently, it's a different feed. But yeah,
it's supposed to be very good.
It's supposed to be very good. So, but we never see this in the UK. But yeah,
useful information there.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
I just wanted to share it with the group, but it blew my mind that existed.
Yeah, but we'll leave it there. We'll see you next week. Enjoy your weekend, and for all our American listeners as well, happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
But yeah, until then, see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Cheers, guys.
L'chaim.